Hello, beautiful creative soul, and welcome back to another episode of Chakra-Care for the Creative Soul. Today's topic is all about spiritual hygiene for lightworkers beyond balancing your root chakra. And I'm so happy that you're here with me today. This is going to be part of a series of shows around spiritual hygiene as it relates to caring for your chakras. And hello, I'm your host today, Pollyanna Blanco, and I am a quantum energy healing practitioner, a light worker at heart, a chakra dance facilitator, a sacred self-care coach and guide, and creative midwife. And I'm so happy to be here with you unpacking this topic today because at Chakra-Care for the Creative Soul, it's all about restoring the sacred to your self-care, so that you can care for yourself and have the energy to birth your dreams and dance your dreams into a beautiful reality. So today's topic came to me because of where we are at in the world right now. We are at this beautiful, beautiful moment. And I'm not sure if you've been noticing it yourself. And if you have, and you happen to be catching this live, I would love to hear what you've been noticing in your day-to-day world. Because lately I've been noticing a lot of joy, hand on heart, a lot of joy. I've also been noticing too that some of the old habitual ways of being, even in my own life, they're sort of starting to feel more like a distant din. It's not that they've completely maybe disappeared, but that they don't seem as loud anymore. And this summer, so many rapid upgrades and shifts have happened on the planet. And there's been a definite rise in frequency available for the collective. And when I say frequency, I'm talking about where we're spending most of our time energetically, especially when it comes to our emotions. And yet it's beyond our emotions. Are we living from that place that is beyond the old stories, limitations? When we are, our frequency raises. We move into those spaces and places within ourselves where our focus becomes more on what we can create and on how to sustain our joy and how to listen to where our joy is leading us. And that's the beautiful part of what I'm here to share with you today, that if you've been noticing that, if that's something that maybe you'd like to be noticing more, then that's why I want to talk to you about the root chakra today, and spiritual hygiene, sort of a lot to unpack here. So let me start off with what I mean by spiritual hygiene, because you may have your own definition of it. I just want to put the cards on the table and share my take on that expression. In my own journey so far, spiritual hygiene is a form of self-care that restores the sacred to it. Simply put, it's caring for our energy. It's noticing who we are beyond our personality, beyond, just what we think about everything that's happening in our life. Spiritual hygiene is about noticing how our energy levels fluctuate throughout the day and connecting the dots. And when I feel into spiritual hygiene, it's something that in my own journey has become essential. We, we like to take a shower, we like to brush our teeth because it feels good, right? And those times where maybe, it gets postponed for whatever reason, or it's not, something happens, and we're not able to, for whatever reason, it doesn't feel as good. It's the same thing with spiritual hygiene. Spiritual hygiene acknowledges that, oh, I'm getting tongue tied here. Let me start again. Spiritual hygiene acknowledges that we are so much more than just a physical being. We're an energetic being. We're a being of light. We have a light body, an energy body around our physical body. And that when we care for this energetic container that, holds our physical form in place, that's when we can start to really notice that feeling of renewal, that feeling of restoration, just the same way we do after we've taken a shower and cleansed our physical body or brushed our physical teeth. So, spiritual hygiene is something that I practice every day, and there are many different ways I practice it. And I'm going to start to unpack and just share with you what I've been learning along the way with the intention that it may help you as well. And I also would invite you to share what's been working for you, what's been helping you. And in my own experience, and I'm sure in yours too, there's so many different ways out there. So part of my intention of running this series is just to invite you to consider the abundance of choices that are available for you and to normalize them as well too, because we've normalized taking a shower and brushing our teeth and washing our clothes. Why not normalize this as well too? Because right now, as I shared at the beginning of the show, we're on the new earth right now, and it's a joyous time. And yes, there are still things going on in the world that don't seem to be in alignment with that or matching that experience, that energetic frequency. And yet, it's the light workers on this planet who have been doing their inner work, who have been hearing the clarion call to do that deep dive on a soul and spirit level, and to ascend beyond the game board and really turn those lemons into lemonade, I guess is what I want to say, in our lives, and claim the gifts and the abundance and the growth. And I want to, from my heart to yours, thank you. Because if you identify with being a light worker, your soul signed up for a whole host of different experiences, and you've been paying your dues. You've been riding the roller coaster of life, and you're ready to take all of that wisdom you've been gaining through being willing to look beyond the surface level of things, to really support everyone on this planet, to support the planet itself, and to uplift the collective. And in a lot of cases, for so many of us, it's been kind of hard won. Let's be honest, it's been hard won. There have been many times in my own journey I've wanted to throw in the towel. I've wanted to just talk myself out of it, and I almost have at times. I've almost wondered if it makes a difference, if that drop in the water actually is rippling far enough out. And I'm so happy and grateful that I am still here sharing this with you, feeling inspired, feeling joyous, because all of us linking arms, all of us working through whatever we've been working through in our own unique ways with our own unique approaches is what's brought the collective to this moment. And it's going to continue to keep expanding and emerging. And so, yes, root chakra. Now, what I want to share with you is, you know, if you're watching this, gosh, because it's airing to my channel, Multidimensional Muse, as well as Oneness Talk Radio. If you're a Oneness Talk Radio viewer, you're probably more than familiar with the root chakra. If you're watching on Multidimensional Muse, the root chakra might be something you've heard of or even be a little familiar with. It might be newer to you. So wherever you fall in your understanding of what the root chakra is, I'm just going to back up for a moment and share a little bit about the root chakra and why it's so key in our inner awakening journey. Your root chakra is one of 7 in-body chakras. There's many, many more. There's ascended chakras as well. in this series, we'll be focusing on the in-body chakras. And your root chakra is right sort of associated with the base of your spine, your sort of your tailbone, your sit bone area. And your root chakra is, you can think of your chakras in general as being energetic communication centers that interplay and intercommunicate between your physical body, your emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. They are gateways, doorways, portals that connect the unseen with the seen. And they both send and receive subtle information and translate it. And you've probably seen and heard or read about how you can open your root chakra. And what does it mean to have an open or a closed root chakra? Well, simply put, a closed root chakra just means you don't have an awareness of your root chakra. That's my take on it, at least. When we start to awaken to the fact that we have an energy being as well as a physical being, and that there's layers of awareness to it, that's what begins to open it. Consciousness itself, noticing what it's noticing. And then as we begin to discover what it's saying to us, what it's communicating to us through our physical body, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies, then we can begin to focus on receiving the gift and that information and restoring harmony and balance. Today, you might have noticed that I talked about going beyond balancing your root chakra, because a lot of people out there talk about balancing your root chakra. And first, you want to open it with your awareness. And then, oftentimes, when we open up our awareness to this dimension of our existence, of our experience, we then notice that there are some incongruencies or things that are out of alignment with maybe what we're thinking or what we're saying or what we're doing. And it's creating resistance on many levels. It's creating drag on our energy. It's creating all kinds of interesting, soupy, and beautiful opportunities to restore wholeness to our being. So, when the root chakra is offering us that buffet of choices, I'm going to just sort of offer you something there before I talk about the difference between balancing and stabilizing. And I'm also going to share with you what has been helping me along the way, and also why working with this energetic center, becoming more aware of it, is so essential, because there's a lot to unpack here. So, our root chakras traditionally, you might have come across them through maybe studying yoga or just being interested in going for a Reiki session or energy healing session. Our root chakra has different dimensions to it. And the first one, it's very closely tied to our physical body. It's at the core of our physical experience. And so it's really about that connection to whether or not we feel safe in the world through literally our nervous system, through our adrenal system. Are we living from fight or flight, or are we living from that place of rest and restore? Is your body producing cortisol, or are we producing GABA? And GABA is the relaxation, feel good chemical, and cortisol is the one that tries to offset the adrenaline when we feel like we're being chased by that proverbial tiger. And a lot of us, especially ever since, the recent events in the world, not too long ago, have gotten habituated to being in that stress response. And so this is why working with your root chakra is so important, because all of your chakras have a communication with the physical body. I would say the root chakra is that base compared to any of the other chakras that really helps us to feel when we're aware of it, to do sacred self-care practices that balance it. Now, from a spiritual hygiene perspective, one of the things that on a physical level has helped me connect the spiritual awareness of being more than just the physical, which is so so present with the root chakra center, is to have a way to clear the the noise in it. And by noise, I mean it could be anxiety, could be fears, worries, doubts, hesitations, and create some spaciousness in there so that the nervous system can calm down, so that the nervous system can begin to restore equilibrium and heal and replenish itself. When we're constantly going hard on 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 those experiences of perceived stress, it becomes habituated, and it's almost like our nervous system just by default just automatically goes there. And so there is a mind body connection. And so what we're telling ourselves about our daily experiences is often what leads to the stress response. What thoughts are we thinking? What are we telling ourselves? What meaning are we making out of experiences? That will lead to a stress response, and that will then um, create certain chemicals and hormones and imbalances in the body. And so, what I like to do every morning is to declare certain things. I like to, when I'm taking my physical shower for my physical body, this is when it seems to make the most sense to just reassure my body of form through my conscious thinking awareness that it is safe. And so one of the things I love to say to my body is I love to release anything that is not of the white light down the drain. Um, and I've also become mindful that when it goes down the drain, it goes into the cosmic clearing container to be transmuted back into the white light, because I don't want that energy to go back into the general, I guess you could say, um, realm of energy surrounding this planet. I want it to be transmuted and back sent back into the white light, sort of recycled, if you will. So that's one thing I do, and then I I command the light. The other thing I do too is I revoke any manufactured, manipulated, coerced consent. And this has to do with the mind of form, because there are distortions through limiting beliefs that we carry that act like filters, that when it communicates with our physical body and says, oh, that ache and pain equals this, it may be true and it may not be, because we don't have to think, we don't have to believe every thought we think. Sometimes they're just like tabloid pop-ups that don't serve us very well. All they do is keep us locked down in a mental stronghold that keeps our body, feeling disunited from the rest of us, and actually even like a burden in some cases when it's prolonged, right? So what I like to do is revoke those consents that my mind of form might have thought were a good idea at the time to do its job to keep me safe, so that I can just intend that I'm releasing those. I don't have to know what they are. Just setting that intention is powerful enough, and trusting that it is. Then I command the light to be on the highest possible timeline available for me today. And by commanding the light, what I'm actually saying is, beyond my mind of form, the consciousness itself that is noticing this whole experience is choosing again to be in that place that is more aligned. So, this is one simple morning ritual that I do that invites my physical body of form, while it's getting the water all over it, to begin to be in the frequency of possibility, be in the frequency of trust, be in the frequency of presence. I also call in the Gold Ray Seraphim and the Holy Cosmic uh, Father, Holy Cosmic Mother, Magenta and Aquamarine rays. And I then invite them to and ask them to balance every cell, molecule, electron, telomere, mitochondria, and gut bacteria in my body until my whole being is transformed into pure light, into my light body, my Merkaba vehicle, my Christed Overself body, my galactic blueprint. And then as that water is just kind of coming down all over me, I just visualize and intend and see and sense into this beautiful light being that is beyond, anything that the mind would tell me I truly am. And I just allow it. I just play with it and I notice it. And then I send all of that gratitude down through the soles of my feet, deep into the crystalline core of Mother Earth. And I set the intention to attune to each of the 8 octaves of the Schumann frequency, which is actually the soul song of Mother Earth. And it's actually a very important intention to set, to feel that connection, to reassure the root chakra that it's safe to be here. Because they've done studies, scientific studies with people placed in these sensory deprivation rooms. I think they call them MU rooms, MU, if I'm correct. And people start to notice increases in a lack of mental wellness in these rooms when they're disconnected from the earth. And so what that also reminds me of, and reminds all of us of, is that important connection between the mind and the body. So starting off with some powerful intentions first thing in the morning is great. Then what I do is I after offering gratitude and thanks to Mother Earth and choosing to be here, I breathe the platinum plasma light all the way back up to my Earth Star chakra. And I begin to see a beautiful lotus flower begin to spin itself open. It's usually in one direction, but I just trust whatever that direction is. And then I see this beautiful sort of tube of light coming up. It's a tube of light that travels all the way up my body to above my head. And I just set the intention that it is a beautiful tube of light, and that as I move throughout the day, it's holding that intention in place. It's anchoring that intention in place to be a being of love and light. And it acts as sort of an air filter, if you will. I'm getting choked up here. An air filter. And I don't know, for me, that also brings me joy. It might sound like a lot to do every morning. And this is part of the key. When we show up for ourselves consistently and regularly, then it becomes natural. It becomes second nature. The same thing as brushing our teeth. And it's also a very good way I've found myself to check in. There are some days where it's just natural and easy to do that. And then there are other days from time to time, not as much recently, hopefully not again, but you never know, right? Where sometimes my mind keeps getting pulled away. I keep getting distracted from that morning routine in the shower. Or I notice I'm, you know, focusing on aches in my body, or, there's an emotion that's present that just wants to just push that out of the way. It's a great litmus test that invites me to really just notice what I'm noticing and see where there are extra places that need my TLC, my loving attention and care. So that's something that I really love to do. And there are lots of other things too that you can do for your root chakra, such as being outside in nature, especially bare feet, grounding. A lot of people talk about how important earthing and grounding is, physical exercise, um, also drinking enough water, um, eating enough nourishing foods that are healthy and clean. Um, these are the core sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the food and shelter, the safety and security. That's very much the root chakra on an emotional level, and on a mental level, it's the sense of the the safety, and then on the spiritual level, it's that I belong, that I deserve to take up space, that I have a right to be here. These are all very root chakra experiences. And so I've shared a little bit with you about the spiritual hygiene I like to use every day that helps me, and it's very unique to my practice. And what I've noticed is, the balancing the root chakra is where oftentimes in order to do that, we got to notice where the imbalances are. And so, like I shared with you during my morning practice, I might notice my mind is a little bit louder, or my emotions or my body is a little bit louder, or maybe I'm feeling a little bit separate from spirit. And so that's a little louder. And they're all sacred invitations to address those areas um, with more attention and more presence. That's the invitation to balance. Now, as a dancer, I've been a dancer my whole life. I understand that balance is not static, it's dynamic. We move throughout our days. It's not like, oh, my root chakra's balanced, I'm done, check it off the to-do list. No, it's an ongoing, as you move through your day, how are you going to maintain a balanced root chakra? And to the mind of form, this sounds like, oh, great, I got another thing that I have to think about. That's so not it. It's not another thing you need to think about. And so stabilizing your root chakra, and I first encountered this concept through the blessing and honor of working with bar none the best medical intuitive teacher on the planet, Sri Ram Ka, who was an ascended master in human form through his Avesa quantum medical intuition training. And both he and his beloved Master Lady Kira Ra both have taught about the power of stabilizing your chakras, and how I've come to integrate that into my own sacred self-care practice and understand it, even beyond what the mind of form would understand it as. Simply put, is that when a chakra like the root chakra is stabilized, it transforms from being a pain point into a source of radiant resilience and strength. So, in other words, it becomes, instead of this wobbly place where all kinds of things keep coming up and we keep trying to solve them in the same way, um, or we get stuck in um, healing work that never seems to heal, it becomes a choice point. And that choice point is a critical choice point. That choice point is the choice to step out of victim consciousness into an ascended way of living, into an inspired way of living, into not only safety, into peace. And that peace anchors in when we show up for ourselves and notice what we're noticing on a daily basis. And we calm and quiet the mind of form that tells us we don't have time, it's too much work, it's another thing I have to do. When we can restore equilibrium to not only our thoughts, which are the loudest with our physical body, that then restores equilibrium with our emotions and our spirit. So our emotions then are calmer. Our spirit is we're feeling more connected to that presence that is larger than anything that would seek to interfere with it. And stabilizing your root chakra is such a gift you can give yourself, because there will be moments where maybe something's coming up for healing and it'll feel maybe temporarily a little wobbly. And because of understanding how to stabilize the root chakra, there will be the capacity within your presence to witness that for what it truly is, a healing, wanting to be integrated into a fuller expression of who you are as someone who is choosing to be anchored in peace, as opposed to feeding the story that is more fear-based, that something's happening to you, disrupting your peace. That's the distinction. And really and truly, hand on heart, the root chakra is a monumental upgrade for so many people on the planet to really grasp what it means to not only be aware of your root chakra, be aware that there are things that are calling for extra love and presence through it as it communicates all kinds of things with and to you and for you. It's also, when you begin to stabilize it, a gateway, a portal into building a solid, stable presence that will lift beyond this body of form and hold open all the potentialities that are available for you now from that place of truly knowing it beyond the fear, worry, and doubt. And so, one of the reasons I also feel called so deeply and strongly to share my unique take on the root chakra and why it's about going beyond just balancing it to stabilizing it is because right now, and I've felt this since I was a teenager, we're living at a time of creative revolution. And the only reason I say revolution is because the last revolution we had was a scientific one. And it just sort of, you know, sequentially feels like the next version of that huge paradigm shift that we had many moons ago, which we dubbed the scientific revolution. Revolution no longer energetically feels for me like the correct word choice to use. I just use it to build that bridge in the moment as I'm sharing it. It's a creative emergence. Right now, there is so much emerging and rebirthing through us as we remember the truth of who we really are and anchor in human form. This is why caring for your root chakra is essential if you want to choose to experience the new earth. We always have the option to still stay where we've always been. And that's great too, because it's all serving everyone and everything so well to be where they choose to be. And creativity is something that I'm passionate about. Not only have I been a visual arts teacher now for 27 years, I'm also a chakra dance facilitator where there's mandala art. And my understanding of creativity is it's so much more than artistic. And yet for me, it was my artist soul that first initiated me into an experience of the connection between creativity and spirituality and even science. And so I share all of this with you because another thing that's birthing through me right now that I'm really excited to share with all of you is a new offering that is going to be coming up beginning of October. And it's tied to a very important moment that I'm excited to share with you. 10 years ago, this book birthed In Rhythm with Your Soul, Break Through the Barriers to Being Creative, because it is an example of 10 years of my journey of awakening to the power of my chakra system, and through that, my energy bodies, my divine mastery presence through the beautiful work of Master Lady Kira Ra and Sri Ram Ka, who are on Oneness Talk Radio, and that's why I'm here, thanks to them. This book, I'm going to be forming a book club, and it's because this book is something that I felt divinely inspired to create. It called to me before I even knew what it was. It literally was a birthing process where I trusted that there was a book in me, even though I had no idea what it was about. That it took me 10 years. I don't want it to take you 10 years to trust your creative impulses, to unwind those spaces and places inside of you that would seek to keep you outside and disconnected from the greatest gifts you have to offer as a light worker on this planet, or stuck in healing work without tasting the joy to the fullest extent that you can, that comes through really being in your creative flow. You know, so many times this book, I threw in the towel. Like, that's the truth. This book is a miracle book in and of itself. I can't tell you the number of times I started writing it and then toss it aside. The first few pages I wrote, I crumpled up into a little cat ball and tossed it in the direction of my cat, Magoo, and it was just like, okay, this isn't happening through me. It was through the grace, the trust, the unwinding of those spaces and places inside of me that this book birthed. And it was in tandem with also experiencing it on a physical level as a dancer at the time, because I was a pro-am competitive ballroom dancer for 13 years. And that call to dance, which I talk about in my book, was so much more than about the dance. It was a metaphor for life itself. It was a desire to return to a state of wholeness, to feel in harmony within myself, to not feel that internal conflict or resistance or rub, and to dance literally like no one was watching, and to move through not only my dance routines on the dance floor, but my life like that. And so in tandem, the book emerged from that experience. And so that experience helped the book to emerge. And this is something that is so important for us to understand as light workers, that all the inner healing work, all the challenges and experiences that our soul called into our experience in this lifetime are because there's something that wants to really emerge through us. So this is where the self-care piece comes into. Self-care is so essential if you're a light worker, because you have a big heart and you have big dreams. And sometimes it can be so easy for that to take on a life of itself, and it's a powerful soul mirror. It can be like an undertow that pulls us down if we're not mindful of what's really going on, and we can burn out. That candle that's lit, that spark that's we're fanning the flame, can also burn. So it's finding the balance of how to channel and direct and guide that internal creative impulse into a flame, into a passion, into a purpose, into a gift that we share with the world, while caring for ourselves through the birthing process. And I can't wait to start the book club. There's going to be lots of other aspects to it that I'm building into it, because I feel like now is the time, as we approach the equinox coming up on September 21st. What's so loud for me is any single person who's watching this, who feels called to watch this video live or on the replay, is someone who knows there's something inside of them, and there's most likely been something stopping you from really just taking that leap of faith and going out there. And this is where sometimes having someone walking beside you, or a book that you can pick up, at 2 a.m. in the morning, that you don't have to read sequentially, you can just look up whatever chakra is speaking to you and read an amusing story about someone else so you feel a little less alone, and then begin to notice what you're noticing from a place of compassion in a judgment-free zone, and then turn that into, as the beautiful Bridget Meyer, head of the World Dance Council and Education Committee, so aptly called it fertilizer for the soul. She's one of the beautiful souls who so kindly reviewed this book. And there's a lot of juicy, good content in it. And I realized that 10 years later, the reason I didn't do it justice 10 years ago is because I was still healing. I was still growing and expanding. And now is the moment. I want this to be in your hands if it's something that you feel would support you or someone else you love and care for. And I have a limited number of them, and when they're gone, they're gone. That's it. There'll be no more, and they'll be a rare book. And so this is why I want to get it out now at this peak up-level moment where humanity is rebirthing itself, and you came here to shine your light bright. You know, in the special offering, the book club I'm going to be hosting, there is also a really key, important piece to the inner awakening journey, the creative journey that not a lot of people, actually, hardly anyone talks about, quite frankly. A lot of people talk about inner child healing, which is super important. A lot of people talk about, subpersonalities if you get into psychology, and they talk about it in other ways in spiritual circles, the inner critic, all that stuff, which I do mention in here too. But there's one other key essential piece to the creative journey. Jung talked about it, and it's been so important and key to understanding my own inner creative emergence journey. And I want you to know about it too. I'm going to be sharing that in the book club because it's made a world of difference for me. It's helped me to reframe how I see those roller coaster moments and how to embrace them as gifts. And I'm sure it will help you too. And it will activate that awareness that in you that will really catapult you beyond the limitations that the mind of form is seeking to keep you stuck in. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to be sharing more in upcoming lives on Sunday here at Chakra-Care for the Creative Soul. If you would like an advance copy before the book club, please reach out to me at info@pollyannablanco.com, and it would be an honor and a pleasure to send you a copy of this book signed if you'd like. and you can start dipping into it. There's so much in it. It's not your conventional chakra book. It's not your conventional dance book. It's about dance as a metaphor for life. So whether you're dancing on the dance floor or off the dance floor, it's a very hybrid, unique book. There's no other book like it out there. And I won't go so far as to say it was channeled, but I will say this, that I could only write between certain hours while holding an angelite rock when I was writing. And then the tap would turn off at a certain point and I couldn't write anymore. I tried writing other times of the day and it wouldn't come through. So this book is really unique. This book wasn't something that I wrote. It's something that was written through me. And that's all I need to know. And that's all I need to trust. And it was a labor of love. I had 12 final versions of it. And I had 2 editors work on it because that's how much care and love and thought I put into it. It took me 3 years after 10 years of writing it to get it into print form. And on top of that, I read the whole entire manuscript backwards, lovingly, to tend it, to pull out the weeds. And yes, so this book here is one of my creative babies, and she's ready to leap out into the world. 10 years ago, I didn't do her justice. Now it's time. Now it's time. So I hope it's something that serves you really well on your journey. And I encourage you to leave me a comment below or email me at info@pollyannablanco.com. Sorry. It's also, if you look below, it's below this video as well too. So before I close, I just want to share with you that, one of the biggest awarenesses that's been ever present for me over the past several weeks is how important it is that we acknowledge that there is a source that we all have access to right here and right now in this moment. Hand on heart, deep breath in. And our one job and one job only is to show up for ourselves. I'm going to say that again. Your one job each and every day is to show up for yourself. Every morning, get out ahead of yourself. Tune into the frequency outside of anything that frequency would be attached to, outside of a person, a place, an experience. If it's joy you want to invite in, if it's love, if it's happiness, if it's peace, focus on that feeling, even if it's just for 2 minutes or a minute or 30 seconds. Get out ahead of yourself. Start your day that way. And then from there, begin your day, however you choose to begin your day. Caring for ourselves is not selfish. It's not only essential, it's responsible. And as a light worker, I know you care so much about the people around you. You're likely an empath or a highly sensitive person, intuitive, and your body may be acting out on all kinds of levels to get your attention. That's may not feel like a good thing in the moment. I get that, because my body was definitely recently acting out on me too, with some lower back stuff, which is totally root chakra. So I know what I speak of. I'm not putting myself as someone who is, free of all of this stuff. I just have a different relationship to it and a different way of approaching it now than ever before. And that's what I'd love to share with you, to help your journey to be a little lighter, gentler, kinder, and more compassionate, so you can shine through these shifting times. If that's something you'd like to learn more about, or you'd like to connect with me, I have a ton of free resources, from chakra health checks to a free 30-minute subconscious infinity healing audio, root chakra. It's safe to be creative. It's safe to be creative, which is my gift to you. Thank you for being here. And just please don't hesitate to explore all of those offerings. I also even have a root chakra audio tonic that's like 3 minutes you can listen to in your car, and it's $3.33 US with a payment plan of 111 if you prefer that. And these are all available through my website. I encourage you just to take the very best care of yourself in these shifting times, because the way you show up for yourself is the way you show up for the world. And the more you can embrace everything that is conspiring to support you in this now moment, to help you to grow and expand, the better the world is, because you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the collective, whether you realize it or not. And now you do. Lots of love and light, beautiful creative soul. In Lakech Alakeen, I am another you and you are another me. Or in Lakech Alakeen, I've sometimes heard both ways of saying it. I feel guided to say it in Lakech Alakeen. I am another you and you are another me. Be well, beautiful creative soul. Lots of love and light.